So we're looking at how crime and deviance are socially constructed. Firstly, crime and deviance are culturally relative. In other words, what is defined as and what counts as a criminal act and a deviant act will vary. It depends on the situation, it depends on the time in history, for example. It depends on the place in which the act occurs, and it depends on the culture of the society at that time in history. For example, smoking used to be something which was considered wrong for women to do in the past. In the 20th century, in the early part of the 20th century, if women smoked, it was seen as unladylike. It was reserved for men. Now, obviously, that has changed, and women do smoke more often. It's more accepted. However, obviously now that's starting to change again and swinging back round to smoking being unacceptable, but this time for men and women because of the health issues people are aware of, and because the law has now said that smoking in enclosed public places is wrong and it's banned by the law. So that shows you that culture changes, and therefore what is defined as deviance and criminal changes. Swearing. When you swear, it might be acceptable in your peer group, and you might get status. You might be respected for swearing. It might be part of your identity within your peer group. So it may not be considered wrong, unacceptable or abnormal within your peer group and with your friends. However, with your family, at the dinner table, or at a posh ball, therefore, their swearing might be completely unacceptable. Killing other human beings is something which, again, over time there have been different ways in which cultures have defined this, and in some cultures, in certain extreme times of starvation, famine, some cultures, some societies have considered killing of children or neglect of children really to be acceptable. For example, the Ik tribe in part of Africa. At times of famine, children at the age of 3 were left to fend for themselves. However, in America, in parts of America, it's still acceptable for the state to kill a human being if they've committed certain crimes. And so, therefore, again, it shows you it depends on the time, the place and the culture whether something is defined as criminal and deviant. Second main point is societal and situational deviance. Ken Plummer, 1979, comes up with these two concepts to help explain how deviance is culturally relative, depends on the culture, and it's socially constructed, depends on time, place and culture. Societal deviance refers to an act which most people in society see as wrong and unacceptable. And therefore an example of this might be killing another human being in British society, which most people see as wrong. Obviously it's complex because if people do it in self-defence, people might have a different view of that act, so it really depends on the situation involved. Situational deviance is that point, that it really depends on the situation, whether something's defined as deviant or acceptable. So, an act which may be defined as deviant is nudity. Because it depends on the situation, it's an example of situational deviance. Because it may be defined as deviant or it may not. It depends on whether someone's on a nudist beach or in the privacy of their own bedroom or in the workplace or the office. In the first two situations it may be perfectly acceptable. In those second two situations it may be wrong, it may be considered unacceptable, perhaps even disgusting by some people. So there's lots of examples for this, but sociologists generally argue that crime and deviance are socially constructed. They depend on time, place and culture.